Good day. This is Jim Lowenstern. This is the Exponential Files. I am your host today. My guest is Eric Orland, who is a real estate agent extraordinaire. He's also a bit of a visionary in the industry, and we're going to go deep with Eric right now. Eric, welcome to the show.
Jim, it's good to see you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So today you're in Miami.
I am.
You usually live in Puerto Rico.
I do.
And like me, you grew up on Long Island in New York. Did I pronounce it correctly? People are always making fun about the way you say Long Island. But...
Yes, coming from an East Coast person, Long Island. I grew up on Long Island, and then I left at 18. I spent most of my life, funny enough, in California. I went to college in California and then spent 40 years there before moving to Miami and then ultimately Puerto Rico.
So let's talk about real estate, all things real estate. When did you get into the industry and what was your path?
So I graduated from UCLA in 1984, and there really was no path, Jim. My focus was really enjoying the quality of my life, and I did to the fullest. I lived in Hermosa Beach, right on the Strand. I don't know if you've ever spent much time out in Southern California, but
imagine no Los Angeles down to San Diego, so Hermosa Beach
imagine,
is
as you know, hundreds
there.
of thousands of people skateboarding or rollerblading right in front of my balcony each and every day, and I was on the ground level. It was quite a party atmosphere. I became really good at playing beach volleyball, but I didn't do a whole lot of professional growth until really I was 30 years old. I lived on the beach, I played beach volleyball, and I have a very wealthy aunt who supported my habits of enjoying life. And at 30, I was marrying into a family where there were certain expectations. My ex, who happens to be one of my very closest friends in the world, was working for the Clinton administration. She ran the White House Women's Office and ultimately Barack Obama's campaign. Her sister is Dee Dee Myers, the former White House press secretary for Bill Clinton. And I was marrying into this family, and my mother-in-law to be says to me, Jim, she said, Eric, I think it's about time you took off the flip-flops and stopped playing volleyball and thought about getting a real full-time job so you could properly take care of my daughter. And to be honest with you, I wasn't quite sure what the hell I was going to do with my life. And she happened to throw out there, Eric, have you ever considered residential real estate? And you're going to love my response. My response to her was, why would I sell residential real estate? Isn't that for housewives? To which she said, are you kidding me? She said, there are two people in our community that are about your age, 30 years old, that make over $1 million in residential real estate. You may want to rethink how you're thinking things, especially since you don't have any other opportunities. So I took her advice and I got into residential real estate, and I went to as many coaching classes and training forums that I could go to, working with people like Daniel Penley so I could properly isolate, handle, and overcome objections. Mike Ferry so I could master the art of prospecting. Joe Stumpf so I could implement a drip campaign. And I took time, Jim, to really understand and then carefully implement all of these strategies into my real estate business. And it served me well. My second year, I was number 15 in the state of REMAX. So number 15 for REMAX in the state of California. And it was really taking the time to really learning my craft, really internalizing and having a blueprint or a map that would lead me to the success that I want to have, that I wanted to have.
How many years were you with REMAX?
I was with REMAX for about 2.5, 3 years. And then I had the good fortune with my wife at the time, getting a job in the Clinton administration with her sister. We moved back to Washington, D.C. And it was that point in time that I started coaching and training realtors, teaching them how I built such a large business in such a short period of time. Because I've always believed two things. One is when you're teaching someone, the more you convey, right? The more you give, the more you're going to receive. The more you give to others, the more you're going to receive. Second thing I believe is when you tell people what to do and what you are doing, there's a sense of accountability that comes into place. No one likes feeling shamed or embarrassed. So there's a very good chance that when you tell somebody what you're going to do, that you're going to wind up following through so you don't look like a fool. So I was very cognizant in going out there teaching and training agents how to run the most profitable and efficient
So
business
did you
process.
run like an independent coaching service, or were you
I
working
did.
for?
I did. It was
Okay.
my own. It was my own company called the Orland Group, and I was coaching and training real estate agents for the better part of 20 years. Something that I really enjoyed doing.
So you
Um,
were independent until you joined EXP, or was there anything in
no,
between?
I did leave the industry for a couple of years. I was really fortunate. I think I'm fairly good, or became very good at being able to set goals and obtain those goals. I did take a brief hiatus from the industry, and I was very fortunate. I worked on the institutional sales desk at Robertson Stevens, which was one of the biggest investment banking firms during the 80s and 90s. We took, companies like Google, eBay, Amazon, Yahoo Public. We were on the cover. So I got to play in an environment that I never, ever, ever anticipated having. It was a phenomenal opportunity. I got to meet, the CEOs of all of these companies that we were taking public and actively participate. Made it obviously a good deal of money doing that. But ultimately, Jim, I came back to doing what I love to do, which is really selling residential real estate, teaching people how to sell residential real estate.
You currently sell, or you're
I
out of
don't.
transactional?
I don't sell anymore. My focus when I joined EXP was to really build an organization. I was 58 years old when I joined EXP, and I was in the midst of going through a very difficult financial time. I've been very adept at making money and not very good at keeping money or holding on to it. 58, Jim, I lost everything. Everything. It was the exact same time in life that my son, my one and only, the love of my life, got into Syracuse University in upstate New York. As you know, being from the East Coast, Syracuse is a private school, costs about 80,000, 80 plus $1,000 a year. And at 58, I lost everything and had to look my son in the eye after promising since he was a young child that if he worked hard and got into whatever college he wanted to go to, that I'd obviously be happy to foot the bill. And I remember looking at him and saying, with tears rolling down my face, saying, Jackson, I love you more than life itself, but I can't afford your college education. I'm broke. I didn't know how I'd put a roof over my head or put food on the table. And it was at that time I went to work at EXP. And what I learned is having heard about the model 3 years prior to losing everything, where I spent so much time, Jim, trying to blow holes into why the model would not work. What I came to realize is there were no holes that needed to be plugged. The model is what the model is. The model provides agents like you and I tools, systems, support, and technology so we could be the best professional versions of ourselves, and also makes available for an agent a level of financial stability and security that's never been made available before by offering EXP agents multiple streams of income and the ability, if we choose, to build generational wealth. And I've been at EXP for a little over 5 years right now. And yeah, I guess I built a small empire, if you will. I have almost 3,000 people in my total group. And it's become a labor of love, being able to talk about something that I'm so passionate about. And I could talk about it really firsthand because of how this model has dramatically, and I mean dramatically with a capital D, changed my life.
So I was in the same place. Well, I probably heard about EXP sooner than you did. There were, I think, a total of 300 agents in the organization
Oh, wow.
when I first was on a go-to-meeting call with Glenn Sanford.
Mhm.
And Glenn's focus was EXP World. That's really what he was really proud of. He mentioned the revenue share a bit, and it just didn't add up to me. I had my own company. I had my own multiple offices, 70 agents, what have you. And I just couldn't see trading the revenue share for the split that I was getting. But over time, and I did podcasts and radio shows, and I interviewed people in the industry. I started using different business models to expand my company. And it wasn't until I started using the EXP business model that I had really, I'd say, just tore apart. So I understood it forwards and backwards, that things started to change. And after a few
Yes.
years of using their business model, more or less, for myself, I realized I'm growing into other states, but now I've got to do all the paperwork. I've got to get all the licensing. I got to pay all the realtor dues. The, E&O just kept going up and up and up. And then I thought about it. If I go to EXP, now I'm basically nationwide. I don't have to open up an office and get a license. And
That's right.
they figured all that out. I don't know how Glenn figured it out. Maybe Glenn has a way to see the future, and he pops in and out of the space-time continuum, but he figured it out.
He certainly did.
Yeah, I actually wrote a little book about it, and I literally wrote, maybe someday in the future someone will get this even better, but for now, this is it. And
Yeah,
I and if you think about it, and I think you probably have given this thought, this is the important question. What could he have done, or what can the company do now? And maybe that's the next thing we'll talk about, which is the co-sponsoring, to make it even better. So maybe
yeah,
that's a lead in.
you took the words right out of my mouth. What I love about what Glenn has done in the most humble way possible is he is always examining the model, along with Leo, of course, our CEO, and making certain modifications to ensure that we as a company are better positioned than any other cloud-based brokerage firm that's out there. And it's not even close,
Oh, wait a
right?
minute. Let me stop you there. Cloud-based. Why just cloud-based? Because our
Well,
competition is all companies. When we're the number
it
one in
is.
transactions, and you see a company like Anywhere, which has all these different brands. I know they don't count the franchises in that, but that's still quite an accomplishment.
Oh,
Even
without a doubt.
Warren
I was going to
Buffett's
say,
company is number three behind
yeah,
us and Anywhere.
I was going to say cloud-based and of course the traditional brick and mortar companies.
Okay,
I think it
sorry
is
I jumped on
so,
that.
no, not at all. I mean, because I think you're dead. I think you're spot on. I think the fact is that, in the same way, Jim, you and I are not going out to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video tonight to go rent our favorite movie and pick out, a piece of candy or popcorn in the comfort of our own home. We are going to download a movie to our template, to our tablet or our television. In the same way that Blockbuster is not arising from the dead anytime soon, I'm of the belief that neither is Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams, Berkshire Hathaway, Remax. I can go on and on and on and on and on. Because at the end of the day, I mean, all of those bulge bracket firms are losing tremendous market share. You could see looking at a public report, their earnings report, most of them are losing a significant amount of money. So I don't believe in the same way that those companies are not rising for the dead. I don't believe that EXP is going anywhere but establishing more and more and more market share. And I say that because I have strong conviction that the younger generation, and I say this with due respect, you and I are more toward the latter part of our career, right?
Mhm.
But the younger person, the younger kid today, right? They don't give a crap about going into an office and getting, wearing a formal suit and tie or getting dressed up. They want to work in the most comfortable setting possible. Sometimes it's hanging out in their pajamas and making phone calls. But what they also want to do, Jim, is they want to maximize their income earning potential. And EXP has set the standard. They were brilliant enough. Glenn was brilliant enough and generous enough to look at the model and saying, hey, most people want to increase their income earning potential and made available for us multiple streams of income. Instead of dumping money into an office and paying for all of that crazy overhead, like rent, salaries, supplies, and furniture, Glenn created a model which allows you and I and every agent affiliated with EXP to have ownership in the brokerage in the form of getting stock rewards or gifts, what we call stock grants. When agents hit simple production milestones, and you and I both know people that have built generational wealth by having ownership in EXP, by having EXP stock. And the other thing, of course, is revenue share. Now think about this. Instead of dumping money into an office, our company, EXP, took $200 million last year and gave that money back to we, the agents, for simply doing the following: introducing other agents to EXP and helping to grow and build the company.
Plus stock, plus dividends.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely remarkable. And
So
then,
let's talk
when you,
about co-sponsoring, because that's
Mhm.
something that is new. I started the co-sponsoring group on EXP's workplace because I thought we needed a place to get it all out there. And I have a little
Mhm.
video, but there's still questions. Do you know enough about it to
I
explain
do.
it?
I think so. I think I finally got it. And at first I was very resistant to it, right? I didn't want it to
Why is
tinker with
that?
anything, because I think that I've worked hard at being able to build a significant passive and residual income stream in the form of revenue share. And I was nervous about having that tinkered with. And now I'm a huge, huge proponent of it. Because at the end of the day, if we come at this with the mindset of doing what is in the best interest of the people that we're bringing into the organization, very often it's not us being the sole sponsor. And a perfect example is if I am bringing on a agent and I live here in Miami and I have a relationship with an agent in San Diego, California, it may very much behoove that person to have somebody to co-sponsor with that has a local influence. So I really, really like the fact that we could provide more resources, more availability, that we're able to provide a greater sense of service. So the agent that's coming into EXP is in a better position to have the success that they're looking to have.
So the old way, it was seven levels. You bring someone in, and if they bring another person in, so that person that you brought in is going to be on your first tier.
Correct.
And then the person that they bring in is now on the second tier. With co-sponsoring, you as a co-sponsor actually end up on that first tier. Is that pretty much the simplest way to describe it?
It is. So what happens is, right, primary sponsor is at the very top tier. Right under the primary sponsor is what we call the co-sponsor, right? And under the co-sponsor is the candidate or the recruit that you have attracted to EXP. So in essence, if you look at the model, right, if you think of a line, right, primary, co-sponsor, the person that you brought into the organization. So the person that you brought into the organization, right, tier one, they would be right under the co-sponsor. They'd be right under the co-sponsor. The primary sponsor, that person that's coming to the organization, would be in their second tier. So the only difference is the primary sponsor would not be paid as if that person is on their first tier, because they're not. They'd be paid if that person was on their second tier. So for a capping agent, somebody that does over 80,000 or more in commission is going to pay EXP 16,000. So in second tier, primary agent would get paid for a capping agent $1,600. Now, the co-sponsoring agent, the agent who the prospect is directly under, first year they'll be able to receive that $4,000 bonus, right? So anybody that you bring on to EXP that sits in your first tier, that is a capping agent, we have the ability to earn $4,000 as in the form of a bonus. That is the highest payout in the industry. So I really love the idea of co-sponsoring because it puts, again, the person who's coming into EXP the opportunity to have several people providing services to them to ensure that they are better positioned to have the success that they're looking for.
Now, the upline partners that you would normally have, if they're bringing training and marketing to the table, it was almost the same thing as a co-sponsor situation, but you're talking about it on a more geographic level. You want someone, you have a friend who's in Washington State, you live in Boston, you want someone local to help you.
Yeah, I mean, I use that as an example, but what you just said, I mean, there may be a group that I think offers better services that are in line with the prospect. I could co-sponsor with that person or put them on as a primary sponsor. Now, as a primary sponsor, there are several advantages that you have. One is that If you're the primary, your upline is going to get paid, right? Your upline, the people that are above you in your organization. That's one. Number two, you're going to receive stock. You're going to receive the stock awards as the primary sponsor. And of course, you'll receive what we call FLQA requirements. So agents will count part of your qualifying requirements to open up various tiers. The co-sponsor will get paid not on 6 tiers, but they'll get paid in 7 tiers. They'll have access to the $4,000 bonus pool, right? Those are the big differences.
So
But
in the case of somebody coming on and there's going to be two sponsors, which would you prefer, primary or co-sponsor?
I think it all depends on, where my business is at and what's in the best interest of the person with whom I'm bringing into the organization. So if I needed FLQA, because I do have a significant 7th line, right? I have people on my 7th tier. So, you have to have 30 FLQ agents that are qualified to open up all of those 7 tiers. If I was below 30, my focus is going to be acting as their primary agent. Once I'm at a number I'm comfortable with, above 30, I'm equally happy earning the $4,000 and getting paid in 7 tiers. So I'm more than happy to go on the co-sponsor. But to each and every person, that's going to be different, depending on what the requirements are.
So let's talk about your big news, Attractify, and
Yes.
how that all ties in to making money.
So when I started with EXP, as I had mentioned before, I was very focused in making sure that I was successful. I was 58, poor and destitute, and I had to make this work. I realized the significance of being able to join EXP in a $64 application and make millions of dollars that could change my life, not only today, but something that I could bring into my retirement and ultimately hand off to my son, my heir. And what I created, Jim, in the same way that when I started my real estate career, I went to every real estate coach and trainer I could find. So I had a blueprint, I had a map how to scale my real estate business. I did the exact same thing in building out my real estate organization at EXP. I created a blueprint, and it was a company that I created called Attraction Flow to keep me on track and understand how I could follow the yellow brick road that led me to a pot of gold. But I also created Attraction Flow so the people below me that was part of my organization would have that same blueprint that they could simply follow to build an organization that they chose. And we rolled this out about 3 years ago. It's been pretty successful, but I wanted to take it to a whole new level. I wanted to take it to an absolutely whole new level. So we created a product. We went through a significant spend campaign of building out no longer Attraction Flow, what is now known as Attractify. And this will be released within the next 3 to 4 weeks. And it is the same blueprint or map that I created previously with lots of enhancements. We spent like $250,000 and we changed the entire user interface. We went through a complete rebrand and a complete redesign. And this platform, Attractify, is powered by artificial intelligence. There are 3 aspects to Attractify. Number 1 is an agent who is a part of Attractify is going to receive coaching, training, and a level of support that is not available anywhere else. We do 10 different Zoom calls each and every week. 2 of the Zoom calls are me or one of my partners doing the model explained, explaining EXP, so somebody doesn't have to take somebody in a 40-minute presentation, which can be challenging. Our focus is teaching agents how to properly invite somebody to learn about EXP. So we have 10 different calls that we do a week. 2 or 3 of them are us explaining the model, so an agent doesn't have to. And then, of course, we have 2 Q&As each and every week and multiple calls where we are prospecting, where somebody hears us on the phone, laying out EXP, and then critiquing their phone call. So there are 10 different important Zoom calls each and every week. Second thing is there's tools unlike anything else that we have at the company, a brokerage cost comparison calculator, the Attractify flow chart. There are tools that agents can use to make the process simpler to building out their organization. And lastly is our software. And that's really the heart and soul. Our software that helps an agent stay organized and communicate at the highest fashion so they could build out the organization that they desire. And I'll give you an example. You utilize the Attractify software platform and you make a call to a prospect, somebody that you're trying to bring into your organization. AI is going to listen to that conversation, Joe, right? It's going to listen to that conversation and take appropriate notes, giving you a history, giving you something to look back on about what's important to that candidate, why they would consider moving, tell you something about their business. And then what happens is AI is going to interpret the phone call and label the prospect. If the prospect happens to be a prospect that's either hot, warm, or cold, what's going to happen? It's going to initiate a couple of things. First of all, your calendar is going to immediately pop up to set an appointment, and that's called a rating call. So your calendar is going to pop up, and what's going to happen is 30 minutes prior to the rating call, your prospect's going to receive a text, a friendly reminder that the rating call has taken place. It's also going to send out, AI is going to send out what we call the 2 video email automations. And these are 2 very good videos that clearly describes eXp, providing for somebody an overview why the company has been so successful and how this amazing platform may assist that person in growing their organization. It also allows them to formulate any questions that they have for me. It's going to initiate what we call our twice a month drip campaign, where they're hearing from you with branded from you. And with each and every month, twice a month, they're going to receive some information that helps you nurture and properly cement the relationship. So all of this is going to be done by artificial intelligence. It's almost like having an assistant, a virtual assistant that is working on your behalf. If you receive an objection, if you're talking to the person in the conversation, they give you an objection, your phone is going to act as a teleprompter, showing you precisely how to respond to that objection so you never get tongue-tied. So I'm really, really excited. Attractify will be out in the next 4 weeks. We're actually going to demo it in 2 weeks. We're putting together that list of people right now. And I think that anybody who's really serious about building out an organization is going to want to get involved. Price of this is $150 a month, $149. But if you bring on one capping agent, right, where you get paid $4,000, it pays for itself 2 times over, more than 2 times over.
So, okay, I have a question. So, eXp, we're all licensed agents, we're all realtors. You have a system now that can help an agent attract agents into their organization.
Yes.
Attractify. Let's say that I have someone on my team. They say, you know, my husband's out of work now. He's looking. He's in the software industry. It's kind of tough to get a job right now. I was thinking maybe I'll put him on a Attractify and have him making calls for me. Could something like that work in your mind? I mean, they're already married. They're already sharing finances. Do they have to be licensed? Not really. The money's coming in anyway.
They just have to be good at setting appointments, right? I mean, that's really the only thing. And I think that's what we teach with Attractify. If somebody's just focused on inviting another agent to learn more about eXp, to see if the platform perhaps aligns with the direction they want to take their business, they can be uber successful. So somebody who's calling for their spouse to simply set appointments so they can come onto our calls and learn is a great way to build a business. And of course, the more conversations you have, the more you put yourself or your spouse in a position to have the type of organization that you want.
So let's talk about the competitors. Of course, eXp, when you're looking at the numbers, way ahead of what would be LPT,
Real, Epic.
Why is eXp so far ahead? And what do you think of the future of the direction that all these companies that are competing for the same piece of the pie,
So,
where's it going to end up?
Great question. Great question. As a matter of fact, I just had an attraction call this morning, and they were asking me about one of our copycat models, one of the bootleggers. And what I could say is the following. EXP was the first cloud-based brokerage platform, right? Clearly, we have dominant, and I mean dominant market share. We're almost at 90,000 agents. Our closest competitor is 25,000, so it's not even close. We are publicly traded. We're on the NASDAQ, and you're ready? We are the only, Jim, we are the only profitable cloud-based platform that's out there.
Are we the
And I
only
want you to,
profitable brokerage?
we're
Is
the
any
only profitable, well, I know cloud-based. I don't know, I haven't looked at the earnings report.
because the last time I looked, it was like Douglas Elliman was like just eking out a profit, and then they dipped into negative territory. So I don't even know if any of our competitors are making a nickel.
I don't know either, but I can say with certainty that out of LPT, which is not public yet, Epic, not even close to being public, nor do I think they'll ever go public, and Real, which has lost monies they are publicly traded, Real, but they have lost monies every quarter. The question I would ask you or anybody is, would you build a home on a faulty foundation? Well, the answer to that question is obviously no. You would not build your home on a faulty foundation. Well, why would a realtor build a real estate company or build an organization or such on a business model that has a faulty foundation? In other words, if they have never turned a profit, a business either grows or it dies on the vine. Ultimately, Real is going to have to change the financial metrics that they're offering to their agents in order to at some point in time, achieve profitability. Because the model has proven over and over
Do you think
and over again.
EXP is profitable because of the scale or the model? Is it because
I think Glenn has been very careful with the model. I mean, we have a war chest of cash. We have been profitable each and every quarter. And I think that, you can't offer the financial metrics that Real is offering agents. It's almost like, I call it a peekaboo model, right? We're going to bring you in. It's a bait and switch. We're going to bring you in one way, knowing they're going to ultimately have to change the model. I mean, because an agent who looks at the metrics, the financial metrics, yes, it's an appealing model. But why? Why again would an agent go ahead and risk, and that's the operative word here, risk their career by aligning with a brokerage platform that has never, ever, 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 ever posted anything that resembles profitability?
and is that true for all those other companies, LPT and Epic?
Not public. And Epic is hanging on, from what I understand, they're hanging on, with a lifeline right now.
Well, when they called me, I asked them some very basic questions, and they kind of giggled, and they never had an answer.
No,
And that
no.
was, we're going to be going public in 2 years. And I asked them just a couple of questions because they were already, we're giving out stock now, and the stock is worth this. And it's how do you value the stock? Well, somebody knows. I'll have you speak to them.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a chance. I mean, I think the metrics being offered by Real are compelling. I mean, if I'm being really honest. But again, at the end of the day,
But isn't it about the same? I mean, how much more compelling could it be?
well, I mean, they're in a different split than EXP is, and they have a little bit of a lower cap. But at
Yeah,
the end of the day, if you can't post profitability, doesn't
right,
that have to change?
right, right.
Right? You could offer somebody, the moon and the sun and everything, but at the end of the day, if a company is not profitable, you're going to have to change the metrics to ensure profitability because you can't continuously lose money as a publicly traded company.
Right. Okay.
No.
Anything else we should talk about? What question should I ask you that I forgot to ask?
Um, what makes somebody maybe good at attracting?
Okay, that's a
treating
good
it like
one.
a treating it like a business, not as a hobby. Each and every day, waking up and being a servant leader and asking somebody with a high level of comfortability and confidence if they would be open-minded to exploring a brokerage platform that may, Jim, allow them to keep more of their hard-earned commissions and maybe makes available the opportunity for an agent to make more money by offering multiple streams of income and providing buyer and seller leads so that agent is in a position to ramp up their production. The question is this: why wouldn't an agent embrace that? The reason that EXP is at 90,000 instead of 190,000 or 290,000 is most people haven't taken the time to learn through a script, a simple script, and internalize that script so they could ask with a high level of comfortability and confidence if that person would be simply open-minded to a platform that may absolutely change the dynamics of how that person provides for themselves and their family. This model is sensational.
So you're talking about how many hours a day for someone
My
and how many days a
methodology,
week?
my methodology is 90 minutes a day, 5 days a week. That's when I get on my work treadmill. And I exercise my work muscle by reaching out to people and asking them if they'd be open-minded and never pushing them. And all I'm looking for is the opportunity to compare and contrast. What is an agent getting
It's a
from
great
their business?
question because everyone wants to be open-minded,
Of course. I mean, nobody walks around saying, hey, I'm Eric
but
Orland.
no one is.
Exactly. So ask them if they are. Are you open-minded? But, my methodology is 90 minutes a day. I get on my work treadmill. I don't get off. I don't get up for bathroom breaks. My water is sitting here right next to me. And for 90 minutes, I call and I put 3 people in my database a day that are open-minded, that have agreed to watch the 2 videos that I talked about before that are going to be sent out, and agree to a follow-up appointment with me so we could collectively ascertain if EXP aligns with the direction they want to take their business. And I look to put 3 people in my database a day that are worthy of being in my database by answering those 3 questions. At the end of a week, I have 15 people. At the end of a month, I have 60. At the end of the year, I have 720. I'm well on my way to having a multi-$100,000 a year passive and residual income. And that's how I built it.
So, Attractify for sure within the next month.
Definitively. We're actually going to a beta test now.
Do you have the video already? The one that's going to
Video-
replace the old one that I've been using now for years?
It is. And as a matter of fact, it's going to be watermarked. We're going to obviously put it. So what's going to happen is when Attractify is released in 3 or 4 weeks, someone will be able to purchase the system and they'll have access to the new 13-minute video and it will be branded from them. But you can pull the video off of the Attractify website.
I don't want the watermark, and I want it branded. So I have to wait, is what you're saying.
It's going to be out in a couple of weeks, Jim. Yep.
What about the beta training? Can I get into that?
Sure. If
Am I
there's going to
worthy?
be there's going to be requirements. So, we definitely want people that are going to use it. They're going to be required to jump on weekly or daily meetings with the software team. We're not looking to just bring this product to market. We are looking to bring this product to market where people go, holy shit, this is absolutely sensational. I'm going to tell you, I was on a call the other day. It's remarkable. It is absolutely remarkable.
Well, I'm
Not only
excited
are we
about
giving
it.
somebody
I want to be part of it. So sign me up, okay?
not only are we going to coach and train, but we're going to give people a software platform that is
Can you
unlike anything
can
that
you
we
show us a minute of the video?
of the video, I don't even know how to pull it up. I know it's in my CRM, Jim,
Okay.
but I don't have it. I don't have it anywhere I could show you.
All
And
right. Well,
unfortunately,
we'll have you on the podcast again.
and I'll have the demo. We're coming out with a new video within the next 3 to 4 days. That's an overview of EXP. I'm happy to share that with you so you can share it with your team and your subscribers.
So you brought up an interesting thought, and I was kind of wondering, okay, so since I've joined EXP, it's been a few years. I think we touched 90. We were at 85 when I joined. I think we drifted down. Co-sponsoring, I think, is going to give the company a boost. Number 7 on Glassdoor and number 1 in transactions. All these things are going to pump up excitement about the company. Where do you think the numbers are going to be in the next 2 years, 5 years?
A lot of that is contingent upon the market of the real estate market in general. But, I believe that EXP is so well situated. Again, we are stable. We have the largest market share. And think about this, Jim. We're in 27 countries. I mean, Real, LBT, and Epic, they're not out of the United States.
So the
or Canada.
27 countries, are we in Japan now officially?
We are officially in Japan. We just opened up Peru, and I think one is going to be added within the next couple of weeks. We are constantly adding new countries, and I think that's where our founder, Glenn Sanford, is spending most of his time today. We see there as being a huge, huge opportunity in international.
Interesting. Okay, well, we could talk all day. Eric Orland from Puerto Rico, Miami, Hermosa Beach. Where in Long Island did you grow up?
I grew up in a town called Merrick.
Oh yeah,
Eric from Merrick,
yeah.
right near Jones Beach.
I was on
Hey,
the
I want to
North
thank
Shore.
you. I always enjoy the time. You ask some great questions. I always enjoy spending time with you, Jim. If I could ever be of any assistance, by all means, reach out. But
Absolutely. Thanks again, and we'll see everyone next week. This is Jim Lowenstern, the Exponential Files. Be careful out there, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.